Okay, in this video, I'm going to talk more about how to create purchase orders. In a previous video, I talked about how to manually create purchase orders and add line items on the POs one item at a time. In this video, I'd like to talk about one of the two tools that can be used to automate the process of creating purchase orders. In a future video, I'm going to talk about the replenish stock tool. This is used for creating purchase orders to replenish your stock in your warehouse by buying large truckloads of items or sea containers full of items, and it will help you determine what needs to be purchased. In this video, I'm going to talk about kind of a different type of tool, and this is called the sales order purchase orders to create tool. So if the phone rings and you take an order and somebody wants you to sell them item X, but you don't have item X, but you can buy it from a local vendor or somewhere, probably domestically, that can come to them relatively quickly, you're going to special order that item and then either drop ship it or have it delivered to you and deliver it to the customer. So getting those purchase orders created can be a time-consuming process. So I'm going to show you how to simplify that today in this training video. So the sales order purchase order screen is showing a list of sales orders. Let me click on one of these sales orders right here. So it's really simple. In order for it to show up on this screen, you just have to have an item on a sales order where the PO is checked, the PO checkbox, and the PO number is blank. If you have those two things, it's going to show on this screen. So instead of having to open and close each sales order and wondering which ones need to have things ordered, this is going to show all of them on one screen so long as the sales order has this checked, the PO checkbox with no PO number. Now, another thing to mention real quick is you can manually check this and it will appear, but you can have it automatically check if you go into, if you go into the settings and you go to the sales order settings, there's an option called auto select the PO checkbox when the item is out of stock. After adding an item to a sales order, auto select the sales order line item PO checkbox when the item is out of stock. And the option is yes, no, or prompt. I have it set to yes, so whenever we add an item to a sales order, and by the way, if I was using one of the different types of find part screens and I was to create a sales order, it's automatically going to do the same thing. Anytime I have a sales order with that setting turned on, if I have an item on a sales order where the PO checkbox is checked, and in the case of using the find part screen, it'll just automatically put it on here. It'll automatically mark it as back ordered if it's not in stock and then automatically check it for you. In this case, I'm going to do it manually. Let's just say HO 1000. Let's pick one of these, 105. And you see that the quantity shipped is 1 because there's a setting that automatically changes that to ship the quantity that I ordered. But once I press enter a few times and commit that line, it's going to find that it wasn't in stock. So it's going to change this to back ordered and it's going to check the PO checkbox for me. So before making this video, I sat down, I tried to think of different scenarios of when you can use this special order PO tool. And I came up with these four. The first one is when I want to auto create a new PO for items on a sales order that are out of stock. So that's this scenario. I've got some items, they're out of stock, the PO checkbox is checked. If I just want to create a PO for just this sales order, and I could have multiple items from different vendors, not a problem. If I click just this button on the bottom, create POs, it's going to open up that same sales order POs screen, but instead of showing all of them, it's only going to show the ones that are related to this one single S1550 sales order, S1550, because I clicked the create POs. So that's a way of, if you're the type of person, if your job description includes you creating purchase orders for the orders that you enter, then you're going to want to do this first scenario. You're just going to make it real simple. You're on the sales order, you click the create POs, this appears. If there's any missing vendors, then you're going to select one of those. Let's just pick a different one here. You're going to give it a cost. And if you select that vendor and you select a cost that wasn't there before, it'll automatically add it to the system linked to this item as a vendor for that item. So that'll save you time as well. So let's go ahead and click proceed. And there's the two different vendors for two different PO totals, a total of $68 it's going to be for those two POs. I'll click on the create POs. Now the purchase order is created. Actually, I have P1281. If I press my F9 key, and I have PO 1280 as well. If you were going to create 20 different POs, we didn't want it to automatically open 20 tabs. So here's PO 1280, and it's automatically added this line item, and it's automatically linked it to sales order number S1550. There it is, S1550. So that's 1280, and here is the 1281, S1550. It's made the link. Now if I click refresh on this sales order, you will see that it automatically puts those two PO numbers there as well. So now you see how easily I can create the purchase order or orders and link them to the sales order. And once I have the PO created, I can send an email, I can print it out, I can pick up the phone and call them. All that linkage is done, the POs are created. Now there's three benefits to using this automated PO process for special order items. One is it saves you a bunch of time. Two is because this item on this PO is linked to this sales order, when it is received into stock, if the phone rings and someone else wants to buy that same item before you ship it out the door, it will not allow somebody else. It will not allow a different order to take that item out of stock. It'll reserve it for the item for just this sales order. That's the second benefit. And the third benefit is if you, let's say you have this sales order, you sell it for $56, but the cost, here's one, $29 cost. You sold it for $56. Let's suppose that when the purchase order is delivered, the bill is delivered, you're putting in the bill, instead of $45, it's $49. That means that the cost that you put on the sales order line item is wrong. When you convert the sales order to an invoice, that cost will be wrong. That will technically mess up your balance sheet. It will mess up your income statement. It will show more profit than you really made. If you pay commissions based on costs of items, you'll be overpaying on commissions. It messes up your accounting. And so that forces you to have to always make sure the costs are 100% correct before you even create the invoice, which isn't real world sometimes. And so because this linkage is here, you can go about your business of taking orders, buying items, shipping items, invoicing items. And if the cost happens to be incorrect on what you had in the system, when you put the bill in, you're going to see the difference, and you're going to be able to change it on the PO, and it's going to automatically ripple through and update the cost on the sales order and the invoice for you. It's not going to change the price, it's going to change the cost. So that's three reasons why it's a great idea to use the sales order purchase order screen to save time and to keep your books accurate. Now, scenarios here. Another scenario is very similar to the first one, but let's say that I'm a sales rep and I don't have the time to create POs. The phone keeps ringing. I don't have time. Someone else is responsible for monitoring the POs that need to be created. So in this case, it's the same thing, but instead of having to go to each individual sales order and click POs, you can just, let me close all these things here. You can just click on the sales order POs and it will show you all of the sales orders that still do not have POs, and you can proceed using the same steps. The third scenario is, let's suppose your company buys a lot of items from the same one or two vendors. And instead of creating 20 or 30 POs throughout the day to the same vendor, you can just create one PO at the beginning of the day, and then you can just keep adding more items to that PO, what we call a blanket PO. So in this case, we have, let me press F9. Let me press F9. So we have, let's just take this X vendor right here, P1278. Got this one item on here. Oh, there's no, let's not do that one. There's no sales order on that one. Let's go ahead and pick a different one. F9, we'll just do this one, 1280. So we have sales order S1550 for this item. And let's go ahead and create another sales order. So let's just go ahead and I'm going to click on find parts this time. It's a quick, easy way to find parts and sell them. This is the auto industry find parts, but we have a wholesale distribution screen for this one as well. 08 Honda Accord. So let's just go ahead and find something we don't have. Press enter. I will add it to the sales order. And so there it is. That needs to have a PO. So in this case, I'm going to come back over to here. I'm going to refresh this. So this is S1555. So there it is on the bottom. And the PO we want to add it to is for vendor test Steve vendor. So I'm going to put test Steve vendor. There we go. I'm going to check this. And I'll put in a cost of $10. Okay. So I'll say proceed. And so this is scenario 3, add additional items to an existing blanket PO. So instead of making a brand new PO, I'm just going to come over here and I'm going to click on an existing PO I want to add it to. So in this case, instead of saying create, I'm really adding to a PO. So up comes my PO. There is the new item for that sales order. And so it's a way of adding to the blanket PO throughout the day without having to make a brand new PO every time. So that's scenario 3. The final scenario is a little more involved. Create a PO. So imagine the way the flow of your business is you get a phone call from a customer. They want to know what's the price. You say, just a minute. You call the vendor real quick. Oh, the price is going to be $5. So your flow ends up being that you create the purchase order first, and then you create the sales order second, and then you need to create the link between the two. So instead of starting with a sales order and converting it to a PO, we're doing the exact process backwards or in the opposite way. So let's say that happens. Let's say that, let's close this. Let's say we make a new PO from scratch. Whoops, I did the wrong one, sorry. Click new. So I'm just going to do X vendor here. And let's just pick an item. HO 1000. Let's just pick something way down the list here. 117. So I'm talking to the vendor, and I can put the vendor item number in here, and it'll add it to the system automatically. Cost in here. Okay. So I now the customer wants this item. So I've created the PO. Now I'm going to say plus sales order. And I am going to just pick a customer here. And now I'm going to order that same item, which is HO 1117. Okay. So instead of going through the motion of creating another PO, which I don't want to do because I already have one, I can just come back over here. And chances are, if I do it this way, then I'm not even going to use the sales order PO screen. I might use it to just look and see what's out there, but I'm probably not going to use it to create POs because I don't do it in that method. I do PO first, then I link it to a sales order. So in this case, I just come down here, and it's syncing with QuickBooks. Just 1 second here. I don't know what's happening right now. I'm going to close this. Okay, so I come over here and I click on Auto Link Sales Orders. Scan for related sales orders. Do you want to scan for any non-shipped items on any sales orders that are not invoiced yet, and auto link the items to items on this PO if there is only one possible link? Yes, I want to do that. And there it is. And actually, in reality, there could be multiple of them. You can just pick which one you want. So there's that test McDonald's HB for that same item. I'll say link. And now it is going to do the same kind of linking as though I used the tool, but I did it semi-automatically, semi-manually. So that covers the 4 different scenarios that you might use in your business to use the automated PO creation tools for special order items on sales orders. I do hope this has been helpful, and I hope you have a great day.